My wife forgot my name before she forgot how to love me. I need you to hear that again. She didn't know who I was, but she still reached for my hand. That's the part nobody talks about. They talk about the forgetting, the blank stares, the repetition. Nobody talks about what stays. My name is Harold. I'm 84 years old. I was a carpenter for 46 years, built houses with my hands, raised 2 daughters and one of them, and I spent the last 7 years watching the woman I loved disappear in slow motion. Sit with me for a few minutes, because what I'm about to tell you isn't about Alzheimer's. It's about what I learned while she was leaving, and it's about what I was too stupid to see before she started going. Dorothy and I were married for 51 years. I was a good husband. I want to say that clearly. I was a good husband in the ways that don't require much. I worked, I came home, I didn't drink, I didn't hit her, I paid for everything, I fixed the things that broke. I thought that was enough. I really did. But Dorothy used to say something to me, usually at night, usually quiet, usually when she thought I wasn't fully listening. She'd say, "Harold, you're in this house, but you're still at the job site." I'd laugh it off. I'd say, "I'm right here, Dot." But I wasn't, not really. My body was in the room, my mind was somewhere else, planning tomorrow's work, thinking about the estimate I had to finish, replaying a mistake I made on a cut that cost me 2 hours. She was talking to me, and I was nodding, and I was somewhere else entirely. I didn't think it mattered. I thought as long as I showed up, as long as I provided, that was the job done. I was wrong. The first sign was small, too small to catch. Dorothy made the same dinner every Thursday for 30 years. Pot roast, carrots, mashed potatoes. One Thursday, she stood in the kitchen and called me in and said, "Harold, what goes in this?" I thought she was joking. I said, "Same thing that's gone in it for 30 years, Dot." She laughed, I laughed, we moved on. But it wasn't a joke. I know that now. A few months later, she lost her way home from the grocery store. She'd been going to the same store for 25 years. I got the call from a gas station 3 miles away. She was calm, confused, but calm. When I picked her up, she said, "I think I took a wrong turn." I said, "Must have," and I drove us home. I didn't ask more questions. I didn't want to see what I was seeing. The doctor said the word, Alzheimer's, early onset, aggressive. He explained what was going to happen. I sat there and nodded and asked practical questions. What medication, what schedule, what to watch for. I handled it the way I handled everything, like a house that needed framing. What I didn't do was go home and hold my wife and tell her I was scared, because I was terrified, but I didn't know how to say that. I'd never learned how. Here's what nobody tells you about this disease. The person doesn't just lose their memory, they lose their filters. Dorothy had spent 51 years being polite, being careful, not saying things that might hurt. The disease stripped that away, and what came out was the truth. One morning, about 2 years in, she looked at me from across the table and said, "You were never really here, were you?" Just like that. No warning, no context. I said, "What do you mean, Dot? I'm right here." She shook her head slowly. "No, you were never here. Not like I needed you to be." And then she forgot she said it. 5 minutes later, she asked me to pass the butter. But I didn't forget. I sat with that one for a long time, because she was right. I was never really there, not the way she needed. I provided, I fixed, I showed up, but I didn't listen, not with my whole self.
I was always half somewhere else, and she spent 51 years next to a man who was only half there. By year 4, she didn't know my name. I'd walk into the room and she'd look at me with polite confusion, the way you'd look at a stranger who sat down next to you on a bus. That smile, that careful, polite smile, I'd seen it on her face 1,000 times at church socials, at neighborhood barbecues. Never thought I'd see it directed at me. I won't lie, that broke something in me. Not all at once, slowly, like a crack in a foundation that you keep walking over because the house is still standing. But then something happened that I still can't fully explain. We were sitting on the porch, late afternoon. She didn't know who I was, hadn't known for months. I was reading a book. She was just sitting there, looking at the yard. And without a word, she reached over and took my hand. Not gently, not hesitantly. She grabbed it, the way she used to grab it when we walked through a parking lot. Firm, like she was anchoring herself to something. I looked at her. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the trees, but she was holding my hand like her life depended on it. And I realized something in that moment. She didn't know my name. She didn't know I was her husband. She didn't remember the house we built, or the daughters we raised, or the 51 years we spent together. But something in her still knew me. Not the facts, not the story. Something deeper, something underneath all the words and dates and memories. Something that didn't need a name to recognize what it belonged to. I held her hand back. I didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. I just sat there and let her hold on. That happened more and more. She'd reach for me in the night, not knowing who I was, just reaching, like a child reaching for something warm in the dark. And I'd be there. For the first time in our marriage, I was fully there, because there was nowhere else to go. No job site in my head, no estimate to finish, no mistake to replay, just her hand in mine in the dark. You want to know the cruelest part? The disease gave me what I'd been missing my whole marriage, but it took her away to do it. I finally learned how to be present, and the woman I learned it for couldn't recognize the change. She couldn't say, "Harold, you're finally here," because by then she didn't know who Harold was. There's a lesson in that. I don't know what to call it, but it sits with me every day. She passed in March, 7 years after the diagnosis. The last few months, she barely spoke, barely moved, but she still held my hand every single day, right up to the last one.
The morning after she died, I woke up at 5, out of habit. I went to the kitchen. I made 1 cup of coffee. I sat at the table and looked at the chair across from me. Empty. Not the confused kind of empty from when she was sick and in the other room. A different kind. A final kind. I sat there for a long time. And here's what I thought about. I didn't think about the things I built. I didn't think about the houses or the promotions or the money in the bank. I thought about all the times she tried to talk to me and I gave her half my attention. All the times she said something and I said, without hearing a word. All the times she reached for me and I was somewhere else in my head. Those moments. The ones I threw away because I thought there would always be more. Those are the ones that kill you at the end. Not the big things, the small ones, the ordinary ones, the ones you didn't even notice leaving. So here's what I have. This is all I have. Not advice. I'm not qualified to give advice. Just something I learned the hard way. When someone talks to you, really listen. Not with your ears, with your whole self. Put down the phone.
Stop planning tomorrow. Stop fixing the problem in your head. Just be there. Because the person in front of you is giving you something you cannot get back. Their time, their attention, their willingness to be seen by you. And if you're only half there, you're telling them they only matter half as much. I was a carpenter. I know what a half measure does to a house. It rots from the inside. Same thing happens to a marriage. Same thing happens to every relationship you pretend to show up for. Dorothy forgot my name, but she never forgot how to reach for me. And I spent 51 years not reaching back the way she needed. Don't make my mistake. Don't wait for the tragedy to teach you how to love the person sitting across from you. The days are not in your way. The days are the whole thing. Thanks for listening to me till this moment.